When you add clips to a sequence, their frame size and frame rate are automatically adjusted to match the sequence, so everything will play smoothly. You'll want sequence settings to match your clips to minimize conversion and maximize playback quality. Let's take a look at those settings. I'm going to create a new sequence in this project by clicking at the bottom of the project panel on this new item menu. I'm going to go into the list and choose sequence, and this brings up the new sequence dialog. The settings for sequences in Premiere Pro are based on camera formats rather than output formats. I'm going to expand the digital SLR category, and I'm going to expand 1080p, which is one of the settings that you can get in a DSLR camera, and I'm going to choose this one, DSLR 1080p 30. Choose a preset that matches your original camera material and click OK. I'm going to click on the name of the sequence that's just been created, and let's give this a name. I'll call this Travelogue. Just as a little footnote to this, you'll notice in the project panel that if you have text selected and you press the carriage return key, which is the enter key to the right of the letters on your keyboard, Premiere Pro tends to jump down the list selecting the next option. But if you have the characters selected, as I do now, and you press the enter key on a numerical keypad, that's over on the far end of a keyboard with the full numerical keys, then it'll just apply that text. Now, creating a sequence using a sequence preset gives you the most control, but it does mean you need to know the settings. And look what happens when I take one of these clips and drag it into the sequence I've just created. I get a clip mismatch warning. This clip does not match the sequence's settings. Do you want to change the sequence to match the clip's settings? This means you can get the settings wrong safely because Premiere Pro is going to give you this option to automatically change those settings when you add a clip. So let's do that. Let's change sequence settings. That clip is now in the timeline ready for us to work on, but it's pretty short, and that's because we're zoomed out quite a long way in the timeline panel. To see this more clearly, I'm going to zoom in, and the easy way to do that is to take the ends of the navigator and move them. So I'm going to click on the end here and drag in to shorten the navigator, and as I do, you can see that we're zooming in and in and into the timeline, and now we can see that clip a little more clearly. I'm also going to click between these two track headers, between video 1 and video 2, the first and the second video tracks, and I'm going to drag up so I can see the thumbnail as well. Now that you've seen Premiere Pro automatically update the settings for a sequence based on a clip, you can easily make use of an even better shortcut. I'm going to take one of these other clips, and again, I'm just single clicking here, I'm not double clicking, because if I double click, it opens in the source monitor. So back in the project panel, I'm going to drag this clip icon onto that same button menu, the new item menu. You see the little plus symbol there means I'm going to create a new sequence. I'm going to release the mouse, and now I have a sequence that is automatically based on that clip. I don't need to know anything about the settings. I don't really need to know much about the clip at all. The sequence has been created with just the right settings to match it. And you can see the name of the sequence matches the clip too, People Shelter from the Rain, but you can see the icon is different. That icon is for a sequence. So let's call this the rain sequence, just so it's easy to spot. And I'm pressing that enter key at the end of my keyboard. Not only can you drag one clip onto the new item menu, you can actually drag multiple clips. I'm going to select the first item on the list here. Let's say I know that these are the shots I want. I'm going to hold the shift key down, and I'm going to click on the last clip on the list, and I'm going to drag all 4 of these onto the new item menu. And now you can see right away, I'll just resize the track header here. There are the 4 clips. And you can see once again, the new sequence has taken the name from the first clip. I'll just call this More Rain, just so we can see it in the panel. So that's how you create a new sequence in Adobe Premiere Pro, ready to add some clips. Once you have a sequence, you'll be ready to add some clips. Premiere Pro is a flexible editing system and allows you to work in a number of ways. Let's check it out. One way to add clips to a sequence is to drag them into the timeline panel. So here I've got a shot called Football in the Rain, and I can drag this straight over to the timeline panel and drop it. And there it is. You'll notice that I'm tending to drop clips always on the video 1 track with the associated audio on audio 1. And this is more than just a force of habit. Remember, audio tracks all play together, but video tracks play in front of each other. Anything on video 2 will appear in front of anything on video 1. And let's try that. I'm going to take another clip and drag that up onto video 2. And you'll notice when I do that Premiere Pro automatically puts the audio for this clip on audio 2 as well. So when I release the mouse, we've now got video and audio. Looking at these two audio clips, seems to me there isn't actually any sound in this audio, so it's not going to make too many issues when we play back and the two pieces of audio are mixed. But still, I'll just scrub across the top of the timeline here. Let me resize a little so you can see the thumbnail of that Great Forest clip. And watch when the Great Forest clip begins in the program monitor. You can almost imagine that this blue mark at the top of the playhead is a camera looking down on the timeline, and anything on top appears in front of anything underneath. You can also drag clips straight from the source monitor. So here I'm clicking in the middle of the picture and I'm dragging down to the timeline, and I'll just put this right there, I think, on video 1 and audio 1. Remember that if you have added in and out marks, as I have here in this clip, at the beginning and end, you see we've just lost the ends of the clip, then they're always going to be honored. It doesn't matter if you're bringing the clip from the project panel down here or up in the source monitor. If you've added in and out marks, you'll just get that partial selection in your sequence. At the bottom of the source monitor, there are two icons, drag video only and drag audio only. And as you can guess, if I drag into the timeline using this icon, I'm only going to get the video part of the clip. Notice there's no audio there because I used this film strip icon instead of taking the whole thing from the middle of the picture. So that's some fairly intuitive ways that you can add clips to a sequence in Adobe Premiere Pro. A large part of video editing is not adding content, but removing it. You'll often find you have clips in a sequence you would like to remove. Let's look at some approaches to this. I've got a simple sequence with 4 or 5 clips in it, and if I select this second clip, kids rolling a tire, and hit the delete key, Premiere Pro leaves a gap. And that might be what I want to do because I've decided I don't want that shot, but I do want to put something else in there and I don't want to move anything around. I'll just fill in the gap later on. I'm just going to undo that by pressing Ctrl-Z, that's Command-Z on macOS. If I want to remove this clip and not leave a gap, I can select it as I have here by single-clicking on it, and I can hold the Shift key down while I press the Delete key. In this way, the Shift key is being used as a modifier key. And if you're familiar with using the Control key on Windows or the Command key on macOS, with keys like A for selecting all or S for saving, then you'll be familiar with the principle. Hold the Shift key down while you press the Delete key and then release the Shift key. Now I'm going to undo again. And this time I'm going to select multiple clips in this sequence by holding down the Shift key again. So it's a different use of the Shift key. I've already got one clip selected right at the end. So I'm holding the Shift key now and I'm single clicking to select the clip in the middle, and I'm still holding the Shift key and I'm single clicking to select the clip at the beginning. Remember, selection is really important in Premiere Pro, so whatever you have selected is what you're working on. In this case, my work is to delete the clips. So I'm pressing the Delete key, and those 3 clips have gone. I'm going to undo that again. And this time, I'm going to go to the Track Select Forward tool, and I'll click again here on the Kids Rolling a Tire clip, and I'll press Delete again. Now I've got a bit of a problem because the Track Select Forward tool actually selects everything on every track from this point forward. So I'm just going to undo, and this time I'm going to hold the Shift key again to change the way the Track Select Forward tool works. Now I've got a single arrow. You can just see there without the Shift key I have 2, with it I have 1. And now if I click, I'm just getting the clips on this track, and I can delete them. But you'll notice that even with the Shift key held down to change the way the Track Select Forward tool works, I'm still getting the audio for these clips. And those audio clip segments are separate. However, they were recorded with the original media, they were imported into Premiere Pro as part of the same media file, and Premiere Pro knows that. So when you select one part of the clip, the other part is selected as well. And this functionality is actually controlled by a little option at the top of the timeline right here. This is the linked selection mode. If I turn this option off, and now I'm holding the Shift key again, so I'm just choosing one track at a time. Now, if I click, I'm just getting the video clips from this point forward on just the video 1 track. And if I turn linked selection back on, again, with the Shift key held down, I'm getting the audio too. So now I can press the delete key, and I've removed those clips and made room for some alternatives. These are some easy ways to remove unwanted clips from your sequence in Adobe Premiere Pro. Essentially, editing is adding, removing, or moving clips in a sequence. It's common to discover your sequence would work better if you change the order the clips play in. And let's look at some ways to move clips in a sequence. I've got a very simple sequence here with 5 clips, one after another, and they have linked audio. If I take one of these clips and drag it over the top of another clip, because I have the snapping turned on the timeline, I know that this is going to line up at the very beginning of the clip because it's jumping into position. When I release the mouse button, a gap is left behind, and the new clip has actually overwritten. It's laid on top of the original clip that was in this position. I'll just zoom in a tiny bit more so you can see the names of those clips a little better. I'm going to undo that with Control-Z or Command-Z on macOS. And I'm going to do the same thing again, but this time I'm going to drag over to the beginning of the clip, and now I'm going to hold down the Control key here on Windows. This would be the Command key on macOS before I release the mouse. And you can see I'm getting these arrows on every track indicating that something's going to happen on those tracks. So I'm releasing the mouse now, and you can see what's happened. I still have a gap where the clip was before, but now the whole of the kids rolling a tire shot is intact. Premiere Pro has inserted the temple from above clip. And these are really the 2 ways in which you can work with clips in a sequence. You can overwrite, replacing the content that was there before, or you can insert, pushing everything out of the way. Because just as the kids rolling a tire clip has moved out of the way, so has the next clip, People Shelter from the Rain. We've got the gap that was originally there. I'm going to navigate over a little bit so you can see it. And that last shot, everything's moved along in the timeline, including the gap that the clip was in originally. Now I'm going to undo that and just scroll over a little so you can see all of these clips. The timeline panel has a linked selection mode where you can turn off the linking between the video and the audio parts of clips for everything in the timeline panel. I'm just going to turn that feature back on though, so that everything is selected together. But you also have the option to unlink individual clips. So here, for example, I'm going to right-click on this People Shelter from the Rain clip, and I'm going to choose Unlink. Right away you can see the audio is deselected. And this means if I want to, I can move just the video. You can see the duration of those clips was pretty similar, but I've got a tiny little bit left of the clip before it. So I'm going to undo. Now, of course, whether or not this clip has linking enabled, I can turn off linked selection for the whole sequence. And if I want to, I can take all 3 of these. I'm just dragging out a marquee or a lasso selection to get the video from all 3 of these clips, and I can drag them over to an earlier point of the timeline. This isn't going to do much for my audio, of course, where I've left it behind. And you can see this unlinked clip isn't giving me a warning because I've told Premiere Pro not to worry about the connection between the 2 clips, the video and the audio. But these later clips are still linked. And so although I've turned off linked selection, Premiere Pro knows that there's a 2-second and 11-frame gap between the positions of these video and audio clips. So I'll just undo again with Control or Command-Z, and I'll put link selection back on. We can also break clips into pieces. This clip was just a little too long for my purposes. So I'm going to get this razor tool, and with the razor tool I'm going to click round about the middle of the clip to separate it into 2, and then I'll get my selection tool and drag the clip over to overwrite the beginning of that kids rolling a tire shot. But I've got a problem. If you recall, I turned off linking for the clip, which means when I clicked with the razor tool, I left the audio behind. I'm going to undo again and again, and now I'm going to select both of these. I'm going to lasso across them or marquee select across them, right-click and choose Link. Now Premiere Pro knows that these 2 parts of the clip are connected, so I can go to the razor tool and click, go back to the selection tool, and now the audio comes with the video. Now you can move clips around in a sequence in a number of ways. As long as you remember time moves from left to right, you can plan your sequence for maximum impact. You'll want to make sure your audience can hear dialogue over the music by adjusting the music volume, and this is easy to do in Premiere Pro. Remember, a music clip behaves in just the same way as a video clip in Premiere Pro, but you'll be putting the clip onto an audio track, not to a video track. Here's a piece of music, and just under it we've got some voiceover. Let's have a listen.
To the land of the eternal spring.
So I quite like that music, but it's a bit too loud for us to make out the voiceover clearly. To make this change, I'm going to use the audio clip mixer. You'll notice at the bottom of the audio clip mixer, we've got some names. A1, which is audio 1, A2, which is audio 2, and so on. And you'll notice that those names match the names of the tracks in our sequence. For our purposes, we're going to work on audio 1. And so that's the section of the audio mixer we want to use. Although the controls in the audio clip mixer can look a little bit strange if you're not familiar with them, notice that they're all just a repetition. Everything for audio 1 is the same as everything for audio 2, and so on. So learn one and you've learned all of them. I'm going to adjust the audio level for the music by dragging this fader control, and I'm going to pull this down quite a bit, maybe down to -12. Let's have a listen to that.
To the land of the eternal spring.
Well, that's much better. We can easily make out the voiceover now. You'll notice as well in the audio clip mixer that we've got a mute button, which actually turns on the mute for the track. There's also a solo button. Solo makes sure that you only hear that track. For example, if I solo audio 2, I won't hear the music anymore, I'll just hear the voiceover.
To the land of the eternal spring.
Over on the right, you've probably noticed already we have some audio meters, so you can see the levels at work.
A la tierra de mis raíces.
You might decide to have vocals come from different directions, and this is easy to do using the audio pan control, which adjusts the balance for the clip. That's the balance of the audio between the left and the right speakers or headphones that you're listening on. Up in the audio clip mixer, I'm going to just click and drag to the right so that the voiceover comes out much more from the right speaker. Not 100%, but a lot more. And let's play that.
To the people of the corn, who built towering cities of light.
You probably saw on the meter that the right channel is louder now than the left channel. I'm going to reset that by adjusting this number under the pan control. And anywhere in Premiere Pro that you see blue numbers like this, you can click and drag, as I am now, or you can click and type. A single click will select the number. I'm going to type in a 0 and press enter, and I've now reset the pan control. The audio clip mixer is based on clips. So if I had more audio clips on the timeline in my sequence, whichever clip the playhead was over would be the one that I would be adjusting. It's pretty subtle, but you can probably make out in the music clip where I've lowered the volume, this line across the middle of the clip has been dropped to a low level. And if you watch that line while I drag the fader up, there. When you release the fader, the line moves to indicate the new volume for the clip. So you have a visual reference on the clip as well as looking at the audio clip mixer. So that's how you can easily adjust audio level and pan for clips in a sequence in Adobe Premiere Pro.